Hello students, my name is Satyajit Pal and today we are in the continuation of the previous lecture of Introduction to Programming. So today we are going to study about functions. Okay, so today's topic is functions in C++. So what is a function? A function is a set of statements that take some input and do some specific computation and produce some output. So you might not be very clear about this. Okay, so let me brief you about this. So generally, what do we expect from a C++ program? See, suppose let's say this is a program. Okay, suppose let's say this is a C++ program and we are expected to get an output out of this program, right? That means we'll write some lines of code, right? So generally, suppose let's say I have a function. So what is a function? As defined earlier, it is a set of statements that take input, do some specific computation and produce output. So suppose let's say this is a function. Okay, add, sub. This is how we declare a function. In general, this is how we declare a function. Okay, so this is just the declaration part. Okay, so if I were to how to write a function, were to tell you that how to write a function, let me tell you, let's say suppose I declare a function named add. Okay, so if it is visible on your screens, let me make it more thick. Okay, right. So let's say I have a function named add. Now this is the function. Now inside this function I will declare some variables. Let's say x, sorry, it should be int x int y and int z. Now z will be equal to x plus y, right? And lastly, what I will do, I'll just write cout z. So my friends, what you can see right here, this is the function's name. What is the function name? The function name is add. And this part what you see right here in the curly braces, these represent the function's definition. This is the function's definition. That means what this function will do. Okay, so suppose let's say I have a program and I have to add, use this function. Okay, use this function, or suppose if I have two variables, let's say x and y, I have to perform the addition of x and y multiple times. So will I write this code multiple times? No. The answer is no. The advantages of function is that you write the code only once and you call it again and again and again how many times you want it. Okay. So it is as similar to, like, if I were to give a very layman's example, let's say if you have a maid at your home. Okay. So when a maid joins your home, so the first day you tell her what are the tasks to be done, where the things are to be kept, okay, how much to use, all these things. And from the next day onwards, when she or he knows everything, the location of your utensils, the different tasks, what she has to do, when she has to do everything, if she knows in a gist, so the next time you will not be going her to explain all the things, you will just give a call to her, right? So in the same way, we'll not go and repeat all these codes again and again and again. we'll just write this code only once, and whenever required, we'll just call this function named add. So as soon as you call this function named add, it will automatically perform this computation, what is written in this brackets, curly braces, right? So if I give, suppose let's say every time I call this function, I give different values. Okay, for x I give 5, y I give 10. So result will be 15. Okay, so every time you call this function, you give different set of inputs and you will get a different set of output. Okay, now the idea is to put commonly or repeatedly turn tasks together and make a function, so that writing the same code again and again for different inputs, we can call the function. What it means is that instead of writing the code again and again and again, we'll just write the code only once and it shall work for different inputs. As I just explained, it will work for different inputs what you have. So it might work for 5 and 10. The next time you might give 3 and let's say 6, you'll get the value 9, right? So different times you call the function, various times you give different inputs, and what you get are different results, okay, depending on the input. So in simple terms, a function is just like a block of code which only runs when it is called. Okay, now coming to the functions declaration. Okay, coming to the function declaration. Now what is function declaration? Function declaration is just this part. Okay, see, whatever this function will do is written in this block of code, right? So this is the function's definition. This is the function's definition, and this is the function's name. Okay, this is the function's name, and this part, my dear students, this is the function's definition. Now, function declaration. Let's see an example to make it more clear. Function declaration, you will give the header int heading void. This is just a prototype of the function. Okay, this is just a prototype of the function. Now this is the header. Okay, return type int, function name you will give, and parameters. Okay, or this is a function with parameters. You can create different functions without parameters also, as I have declared in this way. So like this also you can create different kind of functions. Now coming to why do we need functions? Yes, that is a very good question. Why do we need functions? Functions help to reduce code redundancy. Okay, functions help us to reduce the code's redundancy. Means if we write the code again and again, it is very time consuming. Okay, so what is a better option? We'll just make a function, or just we'll create a function and just call it whenever required. So this will save your lines of code, this will save your memory, and this helps in maintenance, as because you have to change it only one place and the rest of the code gets changed automatically. Okay, this is one advantage of function. Now functions make the code very modular. Means it, suppose let's say I have a very big file and many lines of code, so it becomes really difficult na? So if the code is let's say if the code is divided into functions, so it becomes very precise and very modular, right? The second thing is functions provide abstraction. Okay, suppose this thing what you see right here, sorry, this thing what you see right here, this is blocked in a piece of code, means it is bounded or it is secured, so outside interference cannot be there. Okay, we can also say to be as a module. So this what you see right here, this can be a separate module, right? So it makes the code modular. Next, it provides abstraction. Abstraction means what? That outside interference cannot be there. So suppose let's say you're studying at your home. You're studying with very much dedication and concentration. Suppose let's say an outsider comes and knocks your door, your concentration breaks. Yes, the concentration breaks. So would you like an outside interference? The answer would be no. So in the same way, if you create a function, you will not like any outside interference of any other variables with the function, right? So this is what it means, that if I create a function, they provide the code abstraction. That means other variables or other values cannot hamper or cannot interfere with a certain pre-written function. Okay. Now coming to the next one, what are the different types of function? Okay. The different types of function. There are two different kinds of function. The first one is user-defined function, and the second one is library function. Now coming to the user defined function. Number one. So what are user defined functions? User defined functions also have a special name which you must all remember. Let me highlight it for you. These are tailor made functions. Okay. Why these are known as tailor made? See, let me explain you in a very simple way. See, user defined functions, if you take the example of clothes, there are two kinds of clothes. Either you go to the tailor for making it according to your own size, or you directly go to the shop for buying a pair of trousers or jeans. So, what is the difference between both? The difference between both is that one is designed according to you and the other is pre-designed. You just have to select the size and the color, and the jeans is yours, right? You don't have to waste any time for writing it. Whatever is written, it is already fixed. Okay, you cannot make any changes, but in user defined functions you can make changes. Okay, so what are user defined functions? They are user customized or defined blocks of code to reduce the complexity of big problems. Okay, suppose let's say you want to create your own function which is doing something. Okay, you want to create your own function which is doing something. So what you will do, you'll just create a function, write some piece of code according to your wish, and make it work. Okay, so hence they are known as tailor made functions because you are defining it. Okay, you are just defining the function. That is why it is known as user defined functions, because the function will be defined from your end. Okay, I will show some example to demonstrate this as we go on with the lecture. Now, the second is library function. Now, library functions have a special name known as built-in functions. Sorry. So, library functions are also known as built-in functions. Now, as we know from the word library, library is something predefined, which is already written. Okay. So, library functions means built-in functions. That means they are already a part of the compiler package. You have certain examples to demonstrate this. Let's say sqrt. So now what is sqrt? Sqrt means square root. Okay, sqrt means square root. Now, for what is square root? Most of you all don't know sqrt means what. So sqrt means square root. Now let's say I don't have to call this, sorry, I don't have to write this code for square finding of the square root. What you will do, you will just call this sqrt function from your code and the result will be displayed. Okay, as because in the library the definition of this function is already stored, you don't have to write it again and again. Okay, in the same way, let's say this strcat means string concatenate. Okay, string concatenation means joining two strings. Suppose let's say I have a word library function. So these are two different words. Now what this strcat will do, as soon as you call this strcat function, it will join these two words and make it a single word. Let's say like this. It is already displayed and these two words will be joined together like this. As you can see on the screens, These two words will be joined together. So this is string concatenation. Okay. So what did we understand from this? That we don't have to write codes for the library function. They are already written, pre-written inside what? Inside the compiler. Okay. They are already written inside the compiler and hence they are known as library functions. Okay. Now let us understand functions with the help of a piece of code. So I have already written a code for you all. So let us go through that. Okay. Suppose let's say take the example of this. So let me make it a little big so that it should be visible to you. Okay. Now I hope this code is visible to you. Okay. So as you can see, these are the header files as being given. Include iostream using namespace std as per the standards of C++. Okay. Now int max int x int y. Now let us understand this. In here, int is the integer. Okay. This part is known as the return type. Okay. This part is known as the return type. Max is the name of the function and these are two parameters. Parameters means values. Okay. Parameters means certain values or variables that are declared within this part inside the brackets. Okay. This, my dear, this is the function. The function name is max. As you can see on screen, the function name is max, and inside this there are two parameters declared. So this is the function's declaration. Okay, this is the function's declaration. Now what this function will do, it is written inside this. So what did I say about this part? This part is known as the function's what? This part is known as the function's definition. You can compare it with this. See, you can compare it. Sorry, let me clear it up for you. This part is the function's definition. Now, is it similar to this? Yes. This the function name is there, and inside this curly braces you have the function's definition. Now let me explain what this function will do. Whenever it will get any value for x, it will check if x greater than y, it will return x. That means what? It is finding out the maximum. Okay, this function is to find out the maximum between two variables x and y. Now, if this code finds that x is greater than y, it will return x, else it will return the smaller variable or the smaller value y. Okay. Now, these two has to have a value, right? These x and y has to have a value. Now, if as soon as it gets a value, it will work on this piece of code. Okay. Now going to the main function, if I write int main, int a equal to 10 and b equal to 20, means I have declared two variables. I have declared two variables a equal to 10 and b equal to 20. That means these are two fixed values on which the function will work upon. Okay, these are two fixed values or declaration. This part is known as the function. Sorry, this is the variable declaration. This is the variable declaration and I am initializing. I am initializing these two variables. Okay. Now in the next step, what I will do, I will just create a variable m, and with the help of this m, I will just call my function. What is the function that I had created? The function name was max. Okay. Now you might be wondering that here inside max a and b is written and here x and y is written. Now this a and b will hold the value 10 and 20. Now as soon as I call this max function, so as you can see, as soon as I call this max function, what happens is that it will take two values for a and b. The value of a gets passed on to x. The value of b gets passed on to y. This is how it works. Okay. So let me explain it. Suppose let's say I have a function. Sorry for the disturbance. Alright. Now suppose let's say I have function named max. I have a function named max and here I have two parameters x and y. Right? So what x and y will do is written inside this code. Right? Now each time I call this function, I provided with two values a and b. Okay, I provided with two values a and b. Now in here I have provided a equal to, sorry, I have provided the value a equals, a has the value 10 and b has the value, let's say, 20. Okay, now these values respectively get copied to x, this value gets copied to y. Now let us look at the code again. Here a has the value 10 and b has the value 20. Now as soon as I call this function max of a and b, as soon as I call this function max, what was written here, as soon as I call this max function from here, what it does, it takes the value 10, sorry, it takes the value 10, here it takes the value 20, and these values respectively get copied here and here. Okay, now please check this code once again. The value of 10 gets copied to x, the value of 10 gets copied to this x, the value of b gets copied to this y. Now after the values are copied here respectively, what happens is that it will just check with the values if x is greater than y. Now in x you have the value 10 and if y, in y you have the value 20. Now if x is greater than y, it will return x. But as we know, 10 is less than 20. It is not greater than 20. Therefore, this part will not be executed. The code directly will go to the else part and it will return the larger number y. Okay. Let's run this code and check it once again. Now, sorry, last line. See out m is m. That means larger number is m. Okay, or the maximum value is m. Now let's run this code and see whether it works or not. Right. As you can see on your screens right here, As you can see on the screens right here, m is 20. That means the larger value among them is 20. Okay. That means as I call this function max, it just went to the function's definition, it checked with the values 10 and 20 and returned the maximum value among the two numbers. Okay. Now let us make some few changes over here. Let's say I make it 30 and let's say I make it 5. Okay. So since I am changing or the initializing values I have changed from 10 and 20 to 30 and 5. As you can see, this time I intentionally have put a larger number here and a smaller number here to check what it returns. Okay. Now let's save the code once again and run. Now as you can see here, now it returned 30. Okay. It returns 30. What it means is that it checked with these parameters. This time it found that A is larger than B. So A value was copied to X and B value was copied to Y. So the first part didn't run. Sorry, this time the first part will run as because 30 is greater than 5 and it will return X. That means it will return the value of A equal to 30 as it is displayed on your output screen. Okay. So this basically was all about functions, and I hope you have understood what is function, how to initialize, how to declare a function. Okay. Now this what you saw right here was a function that is user defined function. As because I have written what this function will do. It is my wish or the user's wish how to make this function work. Okay. How to make this function work. Now, there are different kinds of examples of library functions also. Okay. Now, let us look at this piece of code. Okay. If you are able to see this piece of code, then it will be more clear to you. Let me extend it a little bit. Now, as you can see right here, str, lem, str. What you see right here, these kind of functions are known as predefined functions. Okay, or library functions as we talked about. Now library functions are that what they are just built-in functions. Okay, they are just built-in functions that are already written. Now as you can see right here, did I write anything? As you can see right here, did I write what this strlen will do? No, I didn't write anything. I just wrote cout get a string and it will return the length of this string. Okay, it will just return the length of the string. So this is an example of inbuilt or library functions, and the previous example that you saw, this is an example of user defined functions. Okay, now the advantage is that it is according to the user how we will make this function, how we will call this function, and there is no predefined code for this. You can make this code flexible as you want to. Okay, so in the next class we shall be doing some programs on library functions. Okay, so I hope you are clear with these functions and hope I see you all in the next class. Thank you.